All right, since I'm not at class, I wanted to make a video to help you do the math worksheet that you have in front of you today. It's very similar to what we did yesterday with the lab, but if you forgot, that's why I'm making this video. Okay, so these numbers are not exactly the same to what you have on your paper, but the math and the processes are the exact same. So if you need help or you're stuck or you're lost, okay, use this video here to help you get through it. So just like on yours, okay, I have mass 1, mass 2, velocity of mass 1 before they collide, velocity of mass 2 before they collide, velocity of mass 1 after they collide, and velocity of mass 2 after they collide. Okay, so if you're looking at your paper, the first thing it's going to ask you to solve for is the momentum. So it's going to ask you to solve for, let's see, hopefully I'm going to get this right. Let's see, it's going to ask you to solve for P, right? All right here, P1 before, P2 before, P1 after, and P2 after. Now, if you don't know how to solve for P, remember P is momentum. Just look up on the whiteboard, the equation should still be there, but I'm gonna write it right here. P is equal to mass times velocity. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so for P1 before, I'm gonna look at mass 1, which is 2, times velocity, 1 before, 2 times 1 is equal to 2. Okay, pretty simple. And then the units for momentum are kg/m/s, running out of space here. Okay, now let's do 2 before. So mass 2 is 1 times velocity of 2 before, which is 0. So you should get 0 kg/m/s. All right, so now let's do P1 after. So I'm going to use my same mass 1 is 2 times momentum after, which is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. I'm going to leave the units off because I'm kind of running out of space over here. All right, and then P2 after, mass 2 is 1 times velocity 2 after, 1 times 1 is equal to 1. All right, so that's how we solve for our momentum of before and after for both mass 1, and for mass 2. Okay, your numbers have decimals, so make sure you're using a calculator. Don't try to do it in your head. Don't try to guess. Use a calculator, please. They're on your table. Okay, let me go ahead and move my stand. The next thing it's going to ask you to solve for is keep it there. All right, we can see everything. The next thing it's going to ask you to solve for is total. All right, here. Total momentum. Perfect. Bam. All right, now for total momentum, when we hear the word total, right, do we think add, subtract, multiply, or divide? We should think add. All right, we're trying to find out how much there is total. So we're adding. So we're going to have of P before, remember P is your momentum, and P after. Again, remember P is your momentum. So let's go ahead and look at our befores. Before is 2, before is 0, 2 plus 0 equals 2. Okay, see that there? 2 plus 0 equals 2. All right, now let's do our after. After is 0 plus 1, and we get our P after, which is 1. Okay, so we have our momentum before, we have our momentum after. Okay, really straightforward. All you're doing is adding your momentums before and your momentums after. Okay, again, use your calculator. Don't try to do it in your head. Use your calculator, use your calculator. One more time, use your calculator. All right, the next thing is gonna ask you to solve for is kinetic energy. Okay, so let me draw a line right here. It's gonna ask you to solve for kinetic energy. Okay. Now, remember our equation for kinetic energy, I'll write it over here, is KE equals 0.5 times M times V squared. Remember, M is your mass and V is your velocity. Okay. And remember, if we look back up at the top, if we look back up at our top, we are given our masses. You are given your masses. Here are my example ones. And you are also given your velocities, right? Here are my examples, but you are given velocities in your table. So let's go ahead and do that. Here, let's move it back. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and let's solve for kinetic energy. Let's see, it's gonna ask you to solve for 4. It's gonna ask you for kinetic energy of 1 before. I'm just gonna write the letter B because I don't feel like writing the whole word. And then it's gonna ask you to solve for kinetic energy of mass 2 before. Then it's gonna ask you to solve for kinetic energy of mass 1 after. And then it's gonna ask you to solve for kinetic energy of mass 2 after. So you gotta solve for 4 different numbers, okay? And let me show you how to set it up. So if we look back up at the top, mass 1 was 2 kg. So I'm gonna write out the whole thing. Let me get a little more space, a little more space, a little more space. Mass 1 was, so let's go ahead and write it out. So for this one, let's go 0.5 times the mass. And if we remember, look back, mass 1 was 2. And if we look at the velocity before, it was 1 meter per second squared. So you're gonna plug that into your calculator, 0.5 times 2 times 1 squared, and you'll get your answer. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay, I'm gonna pull it down a little bit more. Same thing, 0.5 times the mass. The mass of object 2 was 1 kg times the velocity before was 0 squared. Make sure we're squaring that velocity. All right, let's do the next one. I'm gonna stagger them here so that way we have some space. So KE of object 1 after, so my mass is still the same. It's gonna be 0.5 times my mass, which is 2. Okay, again, that is up here at the top as well, times the velocity after. So I'm gonna go look at V1 after, and that is 0 squared. Plug it in your calculator, you'll get your answer. Okay. Now the next one, KE2, 0.5 times my mass. Again, my mass of the second object was 1. 1 times the second velocity, or the velocity of 2 after. I'm gonna look back up at the top. It was 1 squared. Plug this into your calculator and we should get our answers. Okay. Again, where did I get my mass? Sir, where did I get my mass from? If I look back up at the top, my mass is given to me. Mass 1 and mass 2. Sir, Where do I get my velocities from? Where did I get these numbers right here? Or if I look back up at the top, here's velocity 1 before, velocity 2 before, velocity 1 after, velocity 2 after. I'm given these numbers. So you don't have to search for them, you don't have to solve for them, you don't got to look on the internet. They're given to you right here. Okay? So, last thing you're gonna have to solve for is your total kinetic energy. Now, just like for total momentum, when we see the word total, we should think add. I'm gonna add. So there's two you gotta find: kinetic energy before, and you gotta find kinetic energy after. All right, now to do this, we're gonna add our two kinetic energies before. So that'll be this one, whatever you get for this value, and whatever you get for this value right here. Okay, so KE1, oh, you can't see what I'm writing. Let's go down here. KE1B plus KE2B. Whatever numbers you get from the table before, you're gonna add those numbers. And then for after, you're gonna add your KE1 after plus KE2 after. Sir, where do I get these numbers? Well, if you did this step right here, you'll have the answer here, the answer here. For before, you'll add these two numbers. And then for after, you'll have your answer here, your answer here. You'll add these two numbers to get your total kinetic energy. Okay? Now, there are some questions in between asking you to compare the numbers. Look at the numbers. Are they the same? Are they different? Are the numbers really close to each other? Are the numbers really far apart, right? So when you're answering those questions, make sure you're analyzing the numbers that you are given, okay? There is a back to your worksheet, so you're gonna use these exact same steps. So if you need to rewatch the video, go ahead and rewind it, and it'll take you through the process of solving for whatever you need, okay?